Welcome to Life Stories. What would you do if the one person you trusted the most, the one person you loved with all your heart, turned your life upside down and tried to take away the one thing you hold dearest, your child? In the coldest room of your life, surrounded by strangers, your past and your future collide. The truth is on your side, but will it be enough to save everything you fought for? This is the story of a mother's fight to protect her daughter, a battle of lies, manipulation, and untold strength. It's a story about truth and betrayal, but it's also about the power of one small voice that could change everything. Stay with us as we uncover how a mother and daughter stood together against a force that tried to tear them apart. The journey is far from over. Sarah's fingers trembled as she adjusted her shirt, sitting nervously in the cold, sterile courtroom. The weight of the room pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone, each breath labored. She glanced over at her ex-husband, Ethan, whose perfectly tailored suit seemed to absorb the sharp lights above them, his smile sharp, controlled. He was calm, too calm. It was as if he had rehearsed every word, every movement, like a predator preparing to strike. Her daughter, Lily, only 7, sat behind her, holding onto her grandmother Linda's hand. Sarah's heart sank as she caught a glimpse of the little girl's eyes, wide, filled with too much understanding for a child so young. Lily had been through this before. The tense drop-offs, the nights she cried in her sleep, the quiet withdrawal when she returned from Ethan's house. But this was different. Today, Lily was about to witness her mother's life, her future with her, torn apart. Ethan had always been charming, an expert manipulator. He could make anyone believe he was the perfect father, the perfect man, the perfect everything. But Sarah knew the truth. The nights he yelled at her over the smallest things, the cruel jabs he made when no one was around, the way he turned their daughter against her. Yet in this courtroom, his facade was flawless. His lawyer had painted Sarah as emotionally unstable, unreliable, and mentally unfit to care for their daughter. Sarah could already feel the judgment in the air, the invisible hands of the system pressing her down, as if the truth she'd fought so hard to protect was fading from existence. She wanted to speak. She wanted to shout, to explain, to tell them everything, about the texts he sent calling her names, about the nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if she was good enough. But nothing came out. The words were stuck in her throat, trapped in a place too dark, too painful to access. All she could do was sit there, her heart hammering in her chest, paralyzed by the weight of the courtroom. Ethan stood, his voice smooth as silk, as he spoke to the judge, asking for full custody of Lily. "She's unstable," he said, his eyes glinting coldly. "She lies to our daughter. I want full custody, for Lily's safety." Every word felt like a dagger to Sarah's heart. He was painting her as the villain, the one who couldn't protect their daughter, the one who had failed them both. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving her breathless, trapped in a nightmare. The judge, Judge Carter, a woman with sharp eyes and an unyielding presence, nodded. "Miss Lennox," she said, her voice cool, detached, "do you have anything to say?" Sarah opened her mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Her lawyer, sitting beside her, shot her a look, silent, encouraging, but it wasn't enough. Her hands shook, her heart pounding so loud it drowned out the judge's next words. Then, as if a whisper from another world, a small, clear voice broke through the silence. "Your Honor," Lily's voice rang out, steady and unwavering. "I brought a video from Daddy's phone. I think you should see it." The entire courtroom froze. The eyes of every person there turned toward Lily. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't known about the video. She hadn't known Lily had even taken Ethan's phone, let alone recorded what he had said. Lily stood up, her small body holding a courage Sarah hadn't known she possessed. She walked to the front, past her father, past the judge, and handed the tablet to the bailiff, who looked confused but did as instructed. "Where did this come from?" Judge Carter asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. Lily looked up at her, her big brown eyes unwavering. "I heard him," she said, her voice soft but firm. "He didn't know I was awake. He said those things when I was supposed to be asleep, but I wasn't. I heard him, and I thought, if you didn't believe Mommy, maybe you'd believe him. Sarah's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Her daughter had done what Sarah couldn't. She had told the truth, even when it terrified her. And for the first time that morning, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, the truth would be enough. The judge pressed play on the video, and Ethan's voice filled the room. "You think you're so smart, huh?" he shouted, the rage in his tone unmistakable. "Go ahead, try telling anyone. See what happens. You'll end up in foster care. Your precious mother can't save you. She's pathetic." The room went still. Ethan's face drained of color. His calculated composure cracked in an instant. The lies, the manipulation, all of it was exposed for everyone to see. Where did this come from? Judge Carter asked again, her voice laced with disbelief. Lily didn't hesitate. "He left his phone on the couch," she explained. "I heard him yelling. I was scared, but I thought if someone heard it, maybe they'd believe me and Mommy." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Your Honor," he said, his voice suddenly defensive, "this is completely taken out of context. I was disciplining her. She was misbehaving. This is a mistake." "Enough," Judge Carter said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We've seen enough." She turned to Sarah. "Miss Lennox, do you have anything else to add?" This time, Sarah found her voice. It wasn't much, but it was enough. "No, Your Honor. I think my daughter said it all." The judge's eyes softened for a moment, but she quickly regained her composure. "In light of this evidence, I'm calling for an immediate review of all custody arrangements. Until that is completed, full temporary custody will be granted to Miss Lennox. Supervised visitation only for Mr. Blake." Ethan's face twisted in anger. He stood, his lawyer scrambling to catch up with him, but it was over. For the first time in years, Sarah felt a glimmer of relief. The courtroom wasn't a battleground anymore. It was a place where truth had finally prevailed. Do you believe a child's voice can be more powerful than any legal argument? What would you have done if you were in Sarah's shoes? Stay silent or fight for the truth? For the first time in Sarah's life, she allowed herself to breathe. But as they left the courthouse, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. She hadn't won yet. The road ahead would be long, and there was more to uncover. But for now, she had her daughter back. And the truth? It was only just starting to unfold. The weeks following the court ruling were both a relief and a new kind of hell for Sarah. There were still many hearings, many more papers to sign, more battles to fight. But for the first time in a long while, there was a sense of safety. Lily was home, and the nightmares about losing her were slowly starting to fade. But the silence that followed the storm began to seep into their lives in a way Sarah hadn't anticipated. They had returned to their apartment, the one that Sarah had once considered a prison, now transformed into a sanctuary. The creaky floors no longer seemed so oppressive, and the faded curtains in Lily's room, the ones she had once thought were just a flimsy reminder of their smallness, now felt like a cozy embrace. But even in this newfound peace, Sarah could still feel the shadows lingering. Lily was quiet these days, more withdrawn than usual. She spent hours drawing in her room, her art now a strange mix of dark colors and stormy skies. Sarah had noticed the shift in her daughter's demeanor, but she didn't know how to reach her. The weight of what Lily had done in that courtroom, the bravery of it, the truth she had spoken, it had all changed something inside her. Sarah wanted to celebrate that strength, but she also knew it came with a price. It wasn't just about the custody battle anymore. It was about the trauma they had both endured. One evening, Sarah found herself sitting on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp casting a gentle light across the room. She could hear the faint scratching of pencil on paper from Lily's room. It was the sound of her daughter trying to make sense of everything, trying to process a world that had been too heavy for her small shoulders. The door to Lily's room creaked open, and the girl stood there, her eyes downcast, holding a picture in her hand. Sarah stood up instinctively, her heart in her throat. "What is it, honey?" Sarah asked softly, but her voice trembled slightly. Lily didn't answer at first. She just walked over, handed Sarah the picture, and sat down beside her. The drawing was of a house, or rather, a broken house. One half of the house was dark, its windows shattered. The other half was bright, filled with flowers and sunlight. A small figure stood in front of the house, but it was hard to tell whether it was coming or going. Sarah stared at the drawing, her fingers brushing over the edges, her mind reeling. She knew this drawing. She knew it like she knew her own heart. It was them. It was her and Lily. "Is this how you see us now?" Sarah whispered, her voice cracking. Lily nodded slowly, her lip trembling. "I don't want to leave, Mommy, but I'm scared. Sometimes I think if I stay with you, I'm going to hurt you. And if I go with him, I'll be alone." The words hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. It was more than a child's fear. It was the deep, abiding terror of someone who had witnessed too much, who had absorbed the pain of both her parents. Sarah pulled Lily close, wrapping her arms around her, trying to protect her from the reality of a world that had already taken so much. "You'll never hurt me, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, pressing her cheek against her daughter's head. "You're not alone. You're with me, and that's all that matters." But Lily wasn't convinced. "Mommy," she said, her voice barely audible, "what if the truth isn't enough? What if he still wins?" The question pierced Sarah's heart, a question she'd asked herself every night since the court hearing. What if the truth wasn't enough? What if the battle they had fought wasn't the real one? What if they were both caught in a web too tangled to escape? That night, Sarah lay in bed, unable to sleep, the weight of her daughter's words gnawing at her. She kept replaying the courtroom scene in her head, but something was different now. The victory didn't feel as sweet as she thought it would. Yes, the custody arrangement had changed, but Ethan was still in their lives. His influence, his control, how could they escape that? Then came the call. It was late, well past midnight. Sarah picked up the phone, her heart racing, a sense of dread creeping in. It was her lawyer, speaking in a low, urgent tone. "Sarah, you need to prepare yourself. There's something you need to know. Ethan has been making arrangements behind the scenes. He's not going to give up this fight." The words hit her like a cold slap. Her body went numb. She felt the walls closing in again, felt the crushing weight of everything she had been running from. "He's filing for an appeal," the lawyer continued. "But that's not the worst part. He's gathered evidence, false evidence, to challenge the custody ruling. He's claiming that you coerced Lily into recording that video, that you manipulated her into lying about him. He's twisting everything." The room spun around Sarah as she sat back against the couch, her mind whirling. Ethan wasn't done. The fight wasn't over. And now he was using Lily, the very thing Sarah had sworn to protect, to drag them both through the mud again. "Is there anything I can do?" Sarah whispered, her voice shaking. "There's nothing you can do. Not unless you want to go to war again," her lawyer replied, the words hanging heavy in the air. "But if you do, you need to be prepared. He's not going to stop." She hung up the phone, the silence in the room louder than ever. Lily's innocent drawing, her quiet voice asking if the truth was enough. Was it enough? Was any of it? Sarah's mind raced. She had already lost so much. Could she lose Lily too? Could she really protect her daughter if it meant fighting this battle again? This time with everything they had just fought to rebuild. Torn apart once more by a man who didn't care about truth? Only control? As Sarah stood up, her knees shaking, a sudden realization hit her. Ethan hadn't just been trying to take their daughter away. He was trying to break her. He wanted to destroy the one thing that had ever mattered to her. And that wasn't something Sarah could let happen. Not again. Do you think Sarah can fight this new battle without losing herself in the process? What would you do if the fight for your child's future meant sacrificing your peace of mind and everything you've worked for? Sarah's hand tightened around the phone. There was no turning back now. The fight was just beginning. And this time, she wouldn't be the one to lose. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork, court orders, and the endless toll of reliving the past. But even as Sarah prepared herself for the legal battles that loomed ahead, something inside her shifted. Her resolve was stronger now, but so was the fear. Fear of losing Lily again. Fear of being dragged through the mud by Ethan's manipulative lies. But the truth, the one thing that had carried her this far, was still her weapon. And this time, she was ready to wield it. Lily had grown quieter. She seemed to withdraw into herself more and more, as if the weight of everything, the battles, the courtroom drama, the constant fear of what was to come, was too much for her small shoulders. Sarah would catch her staring off into space, her little fingers tracing the edges of the drawings she no longer wanted to share. But every night, they sat together by the truth jar, reading each note with an open heart, teaching Lily that no matter how hard it got, no matter how much they feared the unknown, they would face it together. One evening, after the latest hearing, Sarah found herself standing in front of the window in their small apartment, the city lights twinkling outside like distant stars. Her mind was racing, and for the first time in a long while, the weight of everything pressed down on her with such intensity that she could barely breathe. Ethan was relentless, pulling every string, using every connection to make sure she wouldn't win. The lawyers were telling her to prepare for the worst. Then the phone rang. Sarah's stomach dropped as she saw the name on the screen. It was her lawyer. "Sarah, we need to talk." His voice was steady, but there was something about it that made her stomach twist. She sat down slowly, the phone still pressed to her ear. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Ethan's appeal has been accepted. We're going back to court, Sarah. They've found a new angle, and it's going to be harder than we thought." Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. Her worst fear was coming true. She wasn't going to win. She wasn't going to get to keep Lily. She had fought so hard, endured so much, and yet, here they were, at the beginning of the fight all over again. "I don't know how much more I can take," she admitted, her voice shaking. "Stay strong, Sarah. You've got this. You have the truth, and that's something Ethan can't take from you." She hung up the phone, her mind spinning. It felt like everything she had fought for was slipping through her fingers, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The next morning, Sarah found herself in the courtroom once more. The air was thick with tension, a quiet hum that seemed to fill every corner. Ethan sat across from her, his face impassive, a thin smile playing on his lips as if he had already won. His lawyer, ever the smooth operator, presented their case with polished precision. Sarah felt small again, her voice barely a whisper in the face of his powerful defense. But when it was her turn to speak, something inside her snapped. She stood, her hands shaking, but her voice clear, strong. "This isn't just about custody. It's about the truth, and I will not let him take that away from me." The judge, Judge Carter, who had seen so many battles unfold in this very room, looked up at Sarah with a steady gaze. "Do you have evidence to support your claim?" Sarah nodded. She had the video. The same video that had shattered Ethan's facade before, the one that had exposed his cruelty for all to see. But there was something more, something new. "I have a witness," Sarah said, her voice unwavering. "I have proof that Ethan isn't the man he claims to be, and I have the truth that my daughter has seen with her own eyes." Lily, Sarah's brave little girl, was sitting in the back of the room, her small figure barely visible behind the legal papers and the cold, impersonal chairs. But Sarah knew her daughter was watching. She could feel her presence like a steadying force in the chaos. The judge turned to the bailiff. "Bring the witness forward," she ordered. The room held its breath as Lily stood up, her little legs shaky, but her eyes clear. She walked to the front, past Ethan, past the judge, her small feet tapping lightly on the floor with each step. The air felt thick, every eye in the room on her. But Lily didn't flinch. She didn't look back at her mother for reassurance. She didn't need to. Lily stood tall in front of the judge, holding the same tablet she had brought to court months ago. She looked up at the judge, her voice steady, her words clear. "Your Honor," she began, "I have something to show you. Something that will prove that what my mom says is true, that what he says about her, it's all lies." The courtroom gasped as Lily tapped the screen. the video of Ethan's rage once again filling the room. His voice echoed, raw and harsh, filled with anger and cruelty. But this time, there was more. Sarah had the rest of the footage. Footage that showed Ethan's manipulation, his attempts to control and hurt, his subtle cruelty towards their daughter. And this time, there was no denying it. No way to twist the truth. Ethan's lies were laid bare for all to see. Judge Carter watched the video, her face unreadable. When the video ended, she sat back in her chair, her eyes fixed on Lily, and then Sarah. "Thank you, Lily," the judge said softly. "You've shown us the truth, and that is something that cannot be undone." The tension in the room was unbearable, but Sarah's heart soared. Her daughter had done it again. She had stood up, she had spoken the truth, and in doing so, she had not just protected herself, but her mother too. It didn't take long for the judge to deliver her ruling. Full custody was granted to Sarah. Ethan's access to Lily would be strictly supervised. There would be no more lies, no more manipulation. And Sarah, for the first time in years, felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders. But the relief was bittersweet. As they walked out of the courtroom, hand in hand, Sarah could feel the world around them shift. She had won, but the cost had been high. Lily was still just a child, still carrying the weight of the things she had seen, the things she had been forced to endure. Later that night, as they sat together in their small apartment, Lily handed Sarah a piece of paper. It was another drawing, this one simple but powerful. It was of two hands, one large and one small, holding tightly to a heart. Beneath it, Lily had written, "Truth is strong." Sarah's heart broke and healed in the same moment. Her daughter was the bravest person she knew, and together, they would rebuild. How do you think a mother and daughter can heal after facing such immense challenges? What do you think is the true cost of standing up for the truth when it feels like everything is at stake? If you were moved by this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. Please comment 100 if you enjoyed the story. Where are you watching from? Let us know your country. And don't forget to share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching Life Stories.